Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I think how we react to coming out of this is looking like a big liability to the Democrats. I think their whole attitude toward this was a liability. But there was a poll recently, Gallup, this is a serious polling service, which is better advice right now, they asked, for people who do not have symptoms and are otherwise healthy. Stay home as much as possible to avoid contracting or spread the virus, or lead their normal lives as much as possible. 87% of Republicans said people should strive to lead normal lives. 71% of Democrats stay home.
People are insane. I have seen more people, and I can almost remember at the beginning of this, if you're not wearing a mask, you're definitely voting for Trump. If you are wearing a mask, it's because you're a responsible individual. Right? You're absolutely the most responsible individual, and you're a Democrat because you care, and the people on the right just don't care. Now, you're not wearing a mask. You're a normal person. You are wearing a mask. You're insane. You're insane. Listen to this again.
87% of Republicans said people should strive to lead normal lives. 71% of Democrats stay home. Keep cowering.
You're talking about people who have had their vaccinations?
Correct.
71% of people who have had their vaccinations?
Of Democrats. People who've had stay home as much as possible, even if you've... And I see people on the street walking outside with a mask on like, you f***ing moron. I just want to shout at them outside the car. You're a moron.
Rob Reiner. 71% Democrats. It's a touchy-feely world. Democrats live in a lot of times in a touchy-feely world. Follow science, except where science makes them feel uncomfortable and we don't follow science. To follow science, no. This is about feelings more than science. The mask doesn't work if you buy it if you're buying it from a grocery store. You're standing in line, right? This thing's the most deadly thing we've seen in the history of things. You're standing in line, you're like, I need a mask. I look over and like, there's a mask at the grocery store while you're buying socks at Old Navy. So wait a minute. The deadliest thing since the beginning of things, as this thing was pitched to the world, and the thing that will help stop it is the thing you bought in line at the grocery store. No. I saw two people on Friday. I'm heading home Friday. Friday afternoon, driving home, windows open, wearing a mask. Windows open, wearing a mask. Nobody else in the car. Just to let you guys know, it's a bit hot here. A smidge. Today, we're going to get to 115. I think it was like 108 on Friday. Insane. Absolute insanity. That's what you've got. You were sold a bill of goods. You believe that somehow, if by doing this, you're caring more for human beings, when in reality, you look like a moron.
You never could get it outside, really. Right. And you're alone walking on the street with a mask?
Yeah. So you used to mask shame them. Now you're mask de-shaming them.
I never mask shame.
No. Look, I never mask shamed. If you wanted to wear a mask, that's totally fine. You want to wear a mask now, that's totally fine. But if you're doing it because you feel in some way, shape, or form after you've been vaccinated and you've got a mask on that you know in your mind isn't going to stop it unless you have a true surgical mask, the N95s, that you're still wearing it, my question is why? We talked last week. We had that bit where was it? A client was out there talking to people out there in New York. Guy doing a man on the street, and some guy's like, "I don't feel I have the privilege to take it off." It's because you've been duped, and you're easy to see. Let me tell you something. It's easy to get you in a cult. Questioning things is good. Did we get to a point where we overdid certain things? Yes. Did we also get to a point where the media covered up in a bunch of crap, knowing full well you couldn't get it outdoors, but people were still making up some bizarre rule? Oh, yeah, you can't get it outdoors. Still wear a mask. Hey, should I bring a towel? Yeah, we're not going to be anywhere near water, but bring a towel just in case. Hey, I should have put sunblock on? Yeah, it's night, but put sunblock on just in case. Oh, okay. Stupidity. And if you're vaccinated and you're wearing a mask all the time, even outdoors, there's a lot more to it. Every once in a while, you may be in a situation where you find somebody who's definitely got some serious potential issues. Okay. But much like everything else, it's a small group of people. But it does show you, though. Think about that. 87, almost 90% of Republicans say, lead your life normal, get back to normal life. 71% of Democrats stay home. Stay home. Live in fear, stay home. Acquiesce to the government. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Over the weekend, the G7 met. They talked a bit about China, and then I heard it got changed to a bunch of other things when they were starting to get to some of the nuts and bolts and stuff. But China should have been the number one thing on the list.
The G7 explicitly agreed to call out human rights abuses in Xinjiang and in Hong Kong, explicitly. 2, to coordinate a common strategy to deal with China non-market policies that undermine competition. They've agreed, and that's underway now, how to do that. 3, to take serious actions against forced labor in solar, agriculture, and the garment industries, because that's where it's happening.
Yeah. And the tech world as well. It's a good thing. It is. Now, how real will any of this be? Who's got the cojones for it? Just curious. Who's got the cojones to actually take on China? It's a very fair question. Who's got the cojones to take on China? Does the world have it? Is the world ready to get into a situation where they're going to start to force them to do something else, or at least make an attempt? Remember, they're in this for the long haul. China's about winning, but it should have been the number one thing. Not only about all of the stuff that they've done in the past, stealing intellectual property, enslaving people in modern day concentration camps, making people work for slave wages. All of those things should have been right there. All of those. But then also, what took place over the last 16 to 18 months that has sent this entire globe into a tailspin economically and when it came to the medical side of things. That was huge. These things need to be discussed, and there needs to be repercussions. Well, we don't know what happened. No, and we're never going to know what happened because nobody's going to force the issue. It'll all be talk. It'll all be pretend sanctions. It'll all be, we're going to try tougher. We're going to be stronger. But at the end of the day, do you have the cojones enough to do it? I don't know. I don't. Now, Putin and Biden are going to have a sit down.
Why reward Putin with a summit with the President of the United States? Is there really hope that there's anything that can be accomplished with this man using diplomacy?
Well, Jake, let me first say we definitely don't see it as a reward. We see it as a meeting that's in the interest of the United States because we want to move to a place in our relationship with Russia that's more stable and more predictable. So he's actually meeting with President Putin not in spite of the differences, but because of the differences.
And we'll see. No, you're not going to be able. Putin doesn't care anything about any of this stuff. He doesn't. It's a chance for him to have a little bit more press in the West. But I don't think he's cowering at the thoughts of meeting Joe Biden. He's already given them what he wanted. Part of that was his big new pipeline. Some of that had a good portion of that had to do with Germany wanting that. But you're going to give him what he wants, and he's totally fine with that. He's good with that. Go ahead, call me a horrible thing. Go ahead, talk about a horrible human being. Go ahead, do all of those things. I don't care. I don't care. I'm living life fine. And you guys can say that you're going to, do this, that, and the other. But what are you really going to do? If I'm Biden, the first thing I do is I make sure somebody tests my food and tea before I drink it. Putin did have some words to say about Trump and Biden.
And this is what Putin had to say about Biden, comparing him to Trump.
We have a bilateral relationship that has deteriorated to its lowest point in recent years.
You once described President Trump as a bright person, talented. How would you describe President Biden?
Well, even now, I believe that former U.S. President, Mr. Trump, is an extraordinary individual. He's a colorful individual. You may like him or not. But he didn't come from the U.S. establishment. He had not been part of big-time politics before. And some like it, some don't like it. But that is a fact.
Yeah, on Biden.
President Biden, of course, is radically different from Trump because President Biden is a career man. He has spent virtually his entire adulthood in politics. Just think of the number of years he spent in the Senate. A different kind of person. And it is my great hope that, yes, there are some advantages, some disadvantages, but there will not be any impulse-based movements.
Yeah, nothing's going to change. Yeah, nothing's going to change. Nobody has the cojones to do it. I mean, my God, we're in a position where we're still wearing masks, even though you've been vaccinated and know the chances of you getting it are slim to none. And so what do you think people are going to do? Right? Do you think Putin's wearing a mask? Probably not. Probably not. Nobody has the cojones to go after Putin the way it should be done and to go after China. You want us to start a war? No. Hold their feet to the fire. Economics. But how do you do that? You're going to have to go to the major corporations in this country and globally, and you're going to have to throw something out that's tantalizing that gets them to go, all right, I can do that. But they won't. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. My Pillow, the My Pillow, right now, $29.98. You have to worry about a sore neck or headaches, or just feel like in the middle of the day you need a nap because you're going to get the best night's sleep with the My Pillow. It's $40 savings, $5 more for the king size. Never goes flat. Withstands washing and drying. Made in the USA, 10-year warranty, 6-day money-back guarantee. Lowest price ever. Go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener square, enter promo code Benson, or call 800-983-4975. While you're there, take advantage of deep discounts on the MyPillow products, the Giza Dream bed sheets, the new My Slippers, and get your premium MyPillow right now for $29.98 with promo code Benson, or call 800-983-4975 or visit mypillow.com. Chad Benson Show.
You go, boy.
This isn't about right or left. This is just about right and wrong.
Right you are, Chad. The Chad Benson Show.
About two-thirds in the ABC News Ipsos poll say protecting Americans' jobs should be top priority among long-term foreign policy goals. This ranks almost as high as taking measures to protect the U.S. from terrorism. About 500 adults were surveyed between Friday and Saturday. 4 in 10 say limiting Russia's influence and power should be given top priority among long-term foreign policy goals.
China. Is anybody watching it? China. Limit China's influence. Limit China's influence. That's what you need to do. Protecting jobs, yeah, that's great too. It's a fantastic thing to do. But you're going to protect jobs how? You got individuals who run big corporations who are looking around saying, what can I do? Because it's a global economy. And part of being a global economy is being able to sell to the globe, making things affordable for not just us, but for everybody. So part of that is being based in certain areas, which helps with a lot of different things, including the fact that your product's being sold in that country, so you get a little bit of something from the government. When it comes to China, though, you better figure it out. sooner rather than later. They're playing for keeps. Keep telling everybody that. They're playing for keeps. The long game is real to them. For us, it's like, we live in a now situation. Want it now, get it now, want it now, get it now, want it now, get it now. Don't know if Biden is going to do anything real with that. Or if anybody else, but take away Biden. Just talk about us for a second. As a group, like the World Trade Organization. Does anybody have the want to do it? That's the other side of it. Does anybody have the want to do it? It's not just us. We're sitting down today. It's NATO. It's going to be all these, big things about NATO. Look at NATO this and NATO that. And when it comes to, that's great. But like everything else, it all sounds great to be part of something. But does everybody understand what it's about? And do you have the want to do it when something actually happens? I can't say that people do. I mean, you only have to look at the movie industry, right? And to see what's going on, the absolute just, oh my God, I'm so sorry, John Cena in Mandarin apologizing. Why? Because they need that money. They need that money. And China's delivered for them. Huge, huge, huge amounts of money and continuing to do so. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. What do you hear what this lady said? It is absolutely insane. We talk about the woke world and cancel culture and this insanity of what's going on. This is crazy. Plus, European Soccer Championships kicked off Friday, but what happened Saturday had the entire globe talking. We'll touch on that as well. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Play is going to be halted again, and this does look serious. Well, Christian Eriksen in some distress by the look of things.
Well, players knew straight away that was a heavy fall.
Yes, it was. Watch the game Saturday morning. I joke, I tell everybody, to my wife, tell everybody, hey, tournaments like this, European Soccer Championship, the World Cup, I will see you in a month. Woke up Saturday, watched a bit of the England game. Was going to go play some golf. Wanted to watch some of this game between Denmark and Finland in Copenhagen. But the 43rd minute, Christian Eriksen, the leader of the Danish team, arguably their best player, quick throw into him. You could see about when they showed the replay over and over again, blood just disappeared from his face. He took 2 steps as it kind of hit his knee, and then he went straight down face first. And it was, I turned to my wife and I said, because they showed a picture of him on the ground, he wasn't moving. His eyes were wide open. And I said, I think he's dead. Everybody's like, what? I said, I think he's dead. Simon Scher, who was the captain of the Danish team, was there immediately. And you could always tell, I always tell everybody, look at the reaction of the players on the field. That'll tell you how serious something really is. The minute he hit the ground, both the Finnish team and the Danish team turned around and were signaling with their arms, get on here, get on here, get on here. Simon Scher, who's the captain, secured his neck, cleared his airwave, and started CPR immediately. Within a minute 27, the medical staff, not just the physios that are with the team, the actual medics were there. You could tell immediately something was going on that was serious. And you start going back and you're thinking to yourself, okay, did he bump his head? Was there something that took place earlier? I played this game a long time. And I will tell you, I've seen this twice in games I was playing. One where a kid smashed his head when I was very young, and 20 minutes later, something had happened, and he ended up having me rushed to the hospital, and it was a brain bleed. So I didn't know if he had smashed his head. When I was older, though, past my playing days, just playing for fun, we had a buddy named Gaza, who was a goalie. He came out for a 50-50 ball, smashed into another guy, and they were going very fast, and he was out. His heart had stopped, and they administered CPR to him right there, and he's fine. But what took place here was totally different. This was a massive cardiac arrest. But it shows you, though, how fast it was. They shocked him on the field. And I'm sure by now most of you have seen it, even if you can't stand soccer, watching the entire thing take place right there. The team surrounding him. But the medical staff and the way that they went about it was absolutely amazing. Several years ago in the African Cup of Nations, Mark Vivian Foe, who was a great player in his day, this happened to him on the field in Africa. They didn't have any of this. He died on the field. And you could see him when they were taking the stretcher off, his hand had kind of just flopped down. Here, as they were taking the stretcher off, you could see that Eriksson was awake. And by the way, he's not only awake, he's making jokes and telling his team, hey, go out there and win this, do this. But the thing that saved him was the defibrillator. And the reality is he was dead. He was.
He was gone, and we did cardiac resuscitation, and it was cardiac arrest. How close were we? I don't know.
It's a physician, a team physician. And people are questioning also, why'd you play? Why'd you play the rest of the game? They asked the teams afterwards, because it's a tournament. There's only a finite amount of days. They've got to get things in. They asked the teams earlier, do you want to play? Do you want to finish it tonight? Or do you want to play tomorrow? Either way, it has to get done. According to, many, it's why did you even ask that question? Why? And I think it's a fair thing to ask.
UEFA said they felt, given the emotional shock, and given it would be the players who had to go out there, that the decision would probably be best left to them. They're the ones who have this relationship. They were the ones who were there steps away when this happened. And, they put their trust in the players.
Players said they wanted to finish it tonight. And they did. Finland won the game. That wasn't really the thing that mattered. Mattered that Eriksson is okay. He's awake. He's joking. He told his team, I want you guys to go out and play. I want you guys to go to win. I'm not going to give up. And watching the whole thing, his wife ran down on the field, and watching their goalie, Kasper Schmeichel, and Cher, their captain, run over to her. And she said, he's dead, isn't he? He says, no, he's breathing. And he's alert, because she thought he was dead. I think everybody did. If you watch that, and how you can go on and play after that, I have no idea. I don't know. I will say this: I've been in games where stuff has happened horrific, and I thought I want to play it. There's nothing about this that I want to do at this moment in time. But the staff was there, and when you think about this, if this happens anywhere else. If he's just with his family, walking down the street, on a walk, and this happens there's a very good chance he doesn't make it. But because there was a defibrillator in the house, if you will, the stadium, There was medics on hand. That saved his life. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. This is insane, and I want you guys to understand what insanity sounds like. This is Ashley Shackelford. She's a queer, non-binary, black, fat, femme writer, which I know, producer Phil, is name your new band. It's a long thing, but it's a mouthful, if you will. But she's holding court, talking about these things that they're about to go over.
White people are racist. So I put this up because I really want any white person in the room to know up front that this is what we're dealing with, that it's not going to be this coddling of white tears and what that looks like. We're not going to discuss, maybe some of us have worked it out. No, you're always going to be racist, actually.
You're always going to be racist. So there's nothing about you that isn't going to be racist, period. Case closed. All right? So just understand that. You're white, you're racist, period. And by the way, you're probably not human.
So even when you're on your path to trying to figure out how to be a better human being, because I believe that white people are born into not being human, like that actually instead of people of color and black folks being dehumanized, that actually everyone is dehumanized off rip within white supremacy, that y'all are born into a life to not be human, and that's what y'all are taught to do, to be demons.
So you wait, hold on a second. I'm taught to be a demon. I'm born non-human. Is that insane? Of course it is. That's the world we live in. That right there is the world that we live in today's world. Race and racism is big business, and I mean that. It's huge business. She's making a living off of it. She's making a living off of it. She's making a living off the fact that she can sit here as a queer, non-binary, non-gender specific, black, fat, femme writer and look at everybody and tell them how awful they are, how racist they are, all the while cashing checks.
White people are racist. So in this particular way, white people are all racist.
Why am I here then? Why am I here to listen to you? I've said it for years. We have come so far. But the agenda is about how far we haven't come.
How often do you ever see advertisements on television with black and white couples? I challenge you, find today, sit on one station for 2 hours, and I don't know how many commercials you'll see. Lay 8 to 5. 2 to 3 out of 5 have mixed race couples in them.
I know it sounds kind of out of left field, but actually Uncle Joe is pointing liberals towards something they need to be more aware of. They have a bad case of Progressive-phobia. That's the phrase coined by Steven Pinker to describe a brain disorder that strikes liberals and makes them incapable of recognizing progress.
He's absolutely right. 100% right. Progressive-phobia, Bill Maher's talking about, is so true. The whole thought process about critical race theory is you go back and you look and okay, we need to whitewash this. We're going to teach kids this, that if you're black, you're automatically a victim and life is far worse than it was 200 years ago based on today's world. And if you're white, you're still a slave owner. And that's your mentality. And nothing has gotten better, and it's worse now than it ever was before, based on people who say that crap all the while profiting off of it and being able to say it without fear, without having to worry, and cashing those checks.
If you think America is more racist now than ever, more sexist than before women could vote, you have progressive-phobia and should adjust your mask because it's covering your eyes. Before 2012, every time gay marriage was put before a state's voters, it lost. Now it's the law of the land in every state. Even half of Republicans are for it. Not that long ago, I knew people who went to prison for growing pot. And today you can legally smoke it for fun in 43% of the country, and I will.
Oh, but no, that's not true. That's not true. No, it is true. It's very true. Remember, the money is in the problem. For years, we've talked about Jesse Jackson. We've talked about Al Sharpton. Everybody called them race hustlers. And those, what they are is businessmen. It's the same thing with climate change. Find something where you can go out and get people terrified, gin them up with feelings over facts, and all the while cash the checks.
Even something like bullying. It still happens, but being outwardly cruel to people who are different is no longer acceptable. That's progress. And acknowledging progress isn't saying we're done or we don't need more. And being gloomier doesn't make you a better person. In 1958, only 4% of Americans approved of interracial marriage. Now, Gallup doesn't even bother asking. The last time they did in 2013, 87% approved.
But it's easy. We live in the greatest time in the history of the world, the safest time in the history of the world, the best time for people of color, for women, for non-binary, black, fat, femme writers that are queer. But it doesn't matter because the money is in telling you that you're still a racist and that you're still bad, and continuing to perpetuate this BS day in and day out. Progressive-phobia, Steve Pinkerton said, is 100% correct. It will never, ever, ever, ever be enough for some. And those people, you should watch and see what's going on and how those checks are getting cashed. Because I looked over at Patrice Cullors, who ran Black Lives Matter, who kind of started this whole thing, and I said to myself, you just resigned. Because people are asking questions of why do you have 4 houses, yet you scream you're a trained Marxist? Because the money's good. The money's good. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. All right, Raycon Summers here. Played some golf this weekend, worked out a bit already today. Had my Raycons in, love every second of it. Doesn't matter what you're doing, Raycons are for you. No stems, no wires, seamless Bluetooth pairing, a compact case that's charging case. So you charge it up, right? And you take your case with you, and that's the charging case. 24-hour battery life, portability. Wherever I go, I take it with me. And I'll just throw them back in. Boom. I know they're charged up and ready to go when I'm ready to get out there and do whatever I'm doing. And now they got the new soft gel tips, even better noise isolating fit, and a 45-day happiness guarantee. Don't miss the summer workouts and fun without the best earbuds around. Raycons, 15% off right now. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. Save an extra 15%, 45-day happiness guarantee. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
Serving up talk radio medium rare and dripping with irony. It's Chad Benson.
It's a disappointing box office.
I keep pushing the wrong buttons. I do that.
It's a disappointing box office debut for In the Heights, based on the Tony-winning Lin-Manuel Miranda musical. Just $11.4 million, far below the expected $20 million bow, but good enough for second place. It's also streaming on HBO Max. There's nothing left. A Quiet Place Part 2 reclaimed the top spot in week 3 of release. The sci-fi horror sequel's now earned $185 million worldwide.
Yeah, and the reason that... you go and you find out that this movie didn't do as well, the dancing, singing movies, because nobody cares about dancing, singing movies. But it won a Tony. That's great. Fantastic. You overestimate the excitement that people... Did I not play you guys Cop Rock last week? Did we not go through Cop Rock? Nobody believes it, right? What do I believe more? That there could be superheroes or people with some sort of amazing gifts? Or that walking down the streets while discussing something serious, I'm going to break out in song and dance? I'll tell you what, I believe there are superheroes more than I believe that. If any of my friends broke out in song and dance, I'd be like, we can't be friends. I feel bad. And I don't want to. I don't want to not be your friend, but you're too musical for me. It's not very nice, Chad. No, but the reality is scary wins. Scary wins big time. It's true. And by the way, that F9, I'm telling you guys, you want to show you why China and everybody bows down to China? It's pretty damn simple. The amount of money it's raking in everywhere, especially throughout Asia, is insane. China alone, $203 million. And continuing to add to it week in and week out. Hit South Korea this weekend, boom, huge. Russia's done well, Hong Kong it's done well, opens up in Australia, massive. That's why people aren't willing to go to the mat to take on China. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Concerns that there may have been an accidental lab leak or possibly something more disturbing. The U.S. intelligence community reporting that there may have been research taking place at that lab that the public doesn't know about. In January, the State Department issued a fact sheet on activity at the Wuhan Institute of Virology that alleged that in the past, the lab collaborated on projects with China's military that it kept secret from the world.
What? What? How? Of course. My goodness me. Of course they did. They did stuff without... Wait, what? Yes. Yes, folks, I'm here to tell you that it's a possibility. Now, do I think that this was done in a way that was done by the military? I do not believe that. I think most people believe it was essentially, it got out. The people and the powers that be working inside the lab for the coronavirus studies that just happens to be in Wuhan, that just happens to be the place where the whole thing took place, that just happens to be the place that also studies things like the coronavirus and bats, that just happens to be a place where medical people got sick, and then it spread, and then more people got sick, and then it was a hush, and then the lab went dark. I think it got out. I don't think it was done on purpose. Here's the thing. Can we be honest with ourselves? If it's done on purpose, if it is done on purpose, that's war, and we would have to react. Because if you don't react, at that point in time, they can do anything they want to you, knowing full well you're going to do nothing. Knowing full well that you're going to do zero, zilch, nada, nothing to them. But let's not forget that just a few months ago, the thought process of saying that this thing came out of a lab potentially was, "Ooh, you don't say that. That's a conspiracy theory. You are an idiot."
More than a year ago, top scientists published a letter in the prestigious medical journal Lancet that dismissed the lab leak theory. They called it a conspiracy theory. So ABC News reached out to all 27 scientists who signed that letter. About a dozen responded, several of them telling us they're not so sure this thing came from nature. And one scientist telling us he's flipped entirely, and he believes that now the lab leak theory is more likely.
Yeah. Well, why'd they do that? Money. Money, indeed. Go look at the Lancet. Go look at a few different things, including the fact that people involved with the Lancet also had some skin in the game. Oh, wow. I never even thought of that. Yeah. So we'll see what takes place. But it does show you the insanity of this and the way it was handled. By the way, the New York Times won a Pulitzer. They won a Pulitzer for their coverage of the coronavirus last year. All the while telling you and everybody else, if you think this thing came from a lab, you're a nut job. If you think this thing came from a lab, you're a conspiracy theorist. If you think this thing came from a lab, you are a fool. But let's give them a Pulitzer for missing the lead story. This thing probably came from a lab, and we should have been looking at it. Well, why does it matter where it came from? Because if it came from a lab, that means not only were they studying it, there's a chance they played around with it. Because in gain of function, you play around with stuff. Because the whole thought process is, let me mess around with some of this stuff. In doing so, we may be able to change it and predict what the next virus pandemic might look like so we can get ahead of the game. Hiding it from the world, not telling them what happened, caused it to be far worse than it should have. That's why it matters. That's why. And because of that, you've got people that are walking around on a daily basis that are wearing masks to this day with no reason to.
I think how we react to coming out of this is looking like a big liability to the Democrats. I think their whole attitude toward this was a liability. But there was a poll recently, Gallup, this is a serious polling service, which is better advice right now, they asked, for people who do not have symptoms and are otherwise healthy. Stay home as much as possible to avoid contracting or spread the virus, or lead their normal lives as much as possible. 87% of Republicans said people should strive to lead normal lives. 71% of Democrats stay home.
Stay home. That's why. People don't want to think about, could this thing have come from somewhere else? Oh, no. It was just part of nature. And even though that's part of nature, and as we all say on the show, nature will mess you up. There's no doubt about that. The reality is people are still hiding in their homes. And Democrats who looked at Republicans and conservatives at the beginning of this saying, if you're not wearing a mask, we know who you're voting for. Now people are looking at the Democrats going, if you're wearing a mask and you've been vaccinated, we know who you voted for. Think about these numbers again.
87% of Republicans said people should strive to lead normal lives. 71% of Democrats stay home. Keep cowering.
You're talking about people who have had their vaccinations?
Correct.
71% of people who have had their vaccinations?
Of Democrats. People who've had stay home as much as possible, even if you've... And I see people on the street walking outside with a mask on like you f***ing moron. I just want to shout at them outside the car. You're a moron.
100%. It's idiotic. Knowing full well that the mask that you bought at the store isn't going to stop anything, but you're still going to do it anyways. Knowing full well that you've been vaccinated, but you're still going to wear the mask that you bought at the store that isn't going to stop it. You're still going to wear that for whatever reason. I don't get it. I don't. The fact that you're willing to give up so much so easily should scare a lot of people. Also, we got some great stuff we could sell to you. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. And so much of it had to do with the fact that it's the last guy. Nobody wanted Trump to be right about hydrochloroquine. They were celebrating the fact that he got it wrong. Well, hold on a second. On hindsight, maybe it does help. Oh, no way. Yeah. Use this coupled with this. Hydrochloroquine may have had some benefits that people don't want to talk about. But the celebration of the fact that, celebrate the fact that he was wrong. On the other side of things, Nobody wanted this to be China's fault. They'd rather an authoritarian communist nation be free of any responsibility so they could celebrate the fact that Trump was a moron as far as they were concerned. That's the media. The media is terrifying. It is. They have the power. You know, the pen, let's say the pen is mightier than the sword. You have no idea. The power to destroy. The power, that Time magazine article about the fact that they essentially created, a cabal of media conglomerates, big tech, social justice warrior activist groups to bring down Trump. That should scare people. It should. It should absolutely frighten people. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. You need to think about that for a second. That's not QAnon stuff. Those are their words. That's not QAnon craziness. Hey, you know what? We're here. We think that the race was stolen, and the people that did it then took the ballots and fed them to chickens and then burned the chicken ranch down so there would be no evidence rather than just burning them. But that's insane. They did that. The celebrating of him being wrong and now going back and go, well, you know what? Kind of have egg on the face when it came to Russia. That wasn't real. And yeah, there may be something to this right now when it comes to how this thing got out. And yeah, maybe we did overreact in the way that we handled. And yeah, all insane stuff, but celebrated by the media. Told you're an idiot for believing some of this stuff. Was it the truth of the big lie? That's what it is. The truth of the big lie. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. Rough Greens makes every pet food better. It's made my dog's pet food a lot better. I will tell you this right now. My dog's pet food, he eats it, right? But then I started giving him Rough Greens. And what it's done to his life has changed it like you could not believe. Vitamins, minerals, probiotics. It's got vegetables in there. It's got omega-369. It's got all this amazing stuff, digestive enzymes, and it's changed the way that he is consuming the nutrients he needs to make him healthier. He's healthier and happier than he's ever been. He can get on the bed by himself, which he couldn't do because of his arthritic hips and his fatty tumors, and you're able to pet him without him attacking you because he's in so much pain. To me, that's a win. Canine VitaSmart's awesome, and Rough Greens wants you to try it before you buy it. You go to roughgreens.com/Chad, ruffgreens.com/Chad, or call 833-MyDog77, 833-MyDog77. All they ask you to do is pay for shipping. They're going to send you a bag for free. Roughgreens.com/Chad. Rough Greens makes any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
Irreverent? Yeah. So what? It's the Chad Benson Show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending.
What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending?
Let us take a peek and see what is trending on the interwebs. Start out at Google. Kevin Durant has been told his bodyguards have been banned from both arenas. Why do you need bodyguards? How much are you hated that you need a bodyguard? Just curious. Kyrie Irving twisted his ankle. People are freaking out about that if you're a Nets fan. Why? Because the Nets, here's the thing, arguably have the best team in the NBA on paper, except for the fact that they're insane. Kyrie Irving decides when he wants to play, if he wants to play. depending on how he feels, right? Remember last year, he would take his hat off for the team photo. Told him to Photoshop it out. He's like that, people in Boston like, this guy's not all there. Kevin Durant sets up fake Twitter accounts so he can fight back at people. Yeah, that's an issue. Ned Beatty passed away, age 83 yesterday. Famous for a lot of different things. I mean, if you guys know, Ned Beatty is just an amazing character actor. Obviously, Deliverance and several other things. Naftali Bennett is the new head guy in Israel, new prime minister. Out goes Netanyahu. In comes Naftali Bennett. But in the Knesset, it's a very close one-vote coalition they have built. So if one vote jumps to another side, it's going to be uncomfortable, and it's going to be interesting to see how they play that thing out. Head on over to Twitter, where everybody's fighting about anything and everything that you think you can fight about. President Woodrow Wilson's trending. No, not because he's alive. Because it's Flag Day today. Oh, that's right. It's Flag Day. It is Flag Day. Trump's birthday today. 75th birthday. Former president of the United States of America. Christian Eriksen. A lot of people were asking the question. He's the Danish soccer player who had a cardiac arrest on the field on Saturday. He is in hospital making jokes and doing well, thanks to the quick response by players as well as the referee, as well as the medical staff that got there almost immediately after they knew the severity of it. But people are asking the question, did he get vaccinated? Did he have the coronavirus? Because there's worry about heart issues. He has not been vaccinated against COVID, and he has not had COVID. And remember, Europe is not like us. They're still plodding along at a much slower pace when it comes to vaccinations. It's a much slower pace. They've had different kind of battles over, this one's for people under the age of 40 and this one's for people over the age of it's been definitely a different thing to watch this thing play itself out when it comes to vaccinations. But that was a big question that started coming out late Saturday night. Did this player, because what they're showing is in younger males in particular, there's a chance that you could have, get myocarditis, which is a heart thing, which, and that's the question people were asking. This could just be a genetic thing. It's just a possibility. And happy birthday to Che Guevara. Born on this day, 1928. Let's remind everybody about Che, all those college kids who are super woke. The blacks, those magnificent example of African race who have maintained their racial purity thanks to their lack of affinity for bathing, have seen their territory invaded by a new kind of slave, the Portuguese, and the two ancient races have now begun a hard life together, fought with bickering and squabbles, discrimination and poverty, unite them in the daily fight for survival, but their different ways of approaching life separate them completely. The black is indolent and a dreamer, spending his meager wages on frivolity or drink. The European has a tradition of working and saving, which has pursued him as far as the corner of America and drives him to advance himself, even independently of his own individual aspirations. Go buy a T-shirt, though, because he loved himself some capitalism, that Che. The one with his face on it. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
colleague Garrett Haake on Capitol Hill. Republican Susan Collins and Senator Mitt Romney are telling folks that the group has reached something of what they're calling a general agreement on the parameters of the package. Well, I have a member of this bipartisan group with me right now. It's Senator John Tester. What can you tell us?
Look, Chuck, I think we're very, very close. And I think general agreement is the right way to put it. I think there are still some outliers out there that haven't been agreed upon totally. But I'm hopeful that we can get something nailed down, hopefully by the end of the day, but certainly by the first part of next week.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get an infrastructure deal that's bipartisan. Probably isn't going to be the way that some progressives want. Because for some progressives, remember, everything's infrastructure, right? Childcare, infrastructure. What are children doing? Are they building roads? You didn't know that? Yeah, it's part of the new thing now. Pre-K learning is learning how to work with concrete. It's pretty good. They want so much stuff in there. That's what they want. How much more can we get? Can you get me more? Is it possible? Can you get me a ton more? We got a lot of stuff out here that needs to be fought. We got so much. Will there be cooler, calmer heads that prevail? Or will the uber progressive side get all the things that they want?
In an infrastructure compromise deal, would you vote yes or no on that package?
You know, I think from what we've seen so far, and particularly the lack of climate action as well, I think adding to the severe lowering of our scope and scale and what we're seeking to do on ambition, I doubt it, frankly, in the current state of that proposal. It is that this isn't just 1.7 trillion. This is about an overall investment spread out over anywhere between 8 to 10 years, which is a very, very low amount of money.
It's very, very low. I mean, it's virtually nothing. You know what? That would be fine, except for all of the other monies we've been rolling out, on top of the fact that we've got the normal stuff. So the low monies that you're looking at isn't something that is low when you couple that with the fact that we've spent how many trillions of dollars in the last 18 months keeping people, well, trying to keep people afloat and now keeping them at home. Just curious about this. But it's about climate change. What do I say? Racism and climate change, man. I'm telling you, huge, huge money in that. If you could, and right now, what are they trying to do? Climate racist. My God, what a brilliant thing. I should have thought of that. The amount of money you can print on climate racist is huge. So you're telling me that the Ku Klux Klan is also part of the Ku Klux climate?
It's not going to create the millions of union jobs that we need in this country, particularly to recover from the pandemic. And it's not going to get us closer to meeting our climate goals, which are crucially important at this point in time.
Crucially important. Crucially important. Climate's a big thing. It is. Climate's been changing a long time. It goes back to another one of those things, though, having a conversation when you have somebody over here who wants to talk about climate and disagrees, and that person's a denier, only to find out that that person also happens to be a scientist, also happens to be many of the things that these other people are saying it's true. The difference is he's not getting paid by a certain group of people whose sole goal is to make sure that this continues to move forward in such a way. How do we improve our environment without ruining our society, in particular our economy? Those are all questions we should be talking about. But with the money the way it is, my goodness me, you better make that thing big. That's why we have the Ku Klux Climate. The Ku Klux Climate spelled with a K. So that way we keep in fashion with the KKK, the Ku Klux Climate. Instead of the Great Cyclops, well, the Great Cyclone.
And I do think that we need to talk about the elephant in the room, which is
now, elephants
Senate
are bad?
Democrats, which are blocking crucial items in a Democratic agenda for reasons that I don't think hold a lot of water. Do we settle for much less and an infrastructure package that has been largely designed by Republicans? Or can we really transform this country, create millions of union jobs, revamp our power grid, get people's bridges fixed and schools rebuilt? It's worth going it alone if we can do more for working people in this country.
So union jobs is going to combat climate? Is that what you're saying? AOC? That's what's going on? So the union jobs will combat climate because that's what... No, it's once again, and I'm all for the infrastructure. I think we need to get this thing done. I think there's a way of going about doing it. I don't think everything needs to be in there like everything else. It's one of those things where the moment that you start putting pork in there and then you can rename it something else rather than just an infrastructure bill and give it a fuzzy, warm name and say if you don't vote for it, it's because you hate Americans or something of that nature, that's sorry. I don't buy into that crap. I don't. But it is funny, though, that's the new thing. Tying racism and climate together is... And how do they do it? They do it with facts? Well, it depends on who. Whose facts? Whose facts are we talking about here? Because you can't have a conversation anymore, right? We can't have a real conversation about anything without people being branded a denier or a racist, a homophobe, a transphobe, whatever it is. And I've always figured out if you're gonna go after and demean somebody and start screaming and yelling at people about how evil they are and how they're evil, what I usually find out is you don't have anything to back up what you're trying to spew. So it's just easier to tell everybody they suck. No, infrastructure is important. Why? We need it. Take a look around. From airports to bridges and a lot of things in between, we should be pumping money into our country. And there's ways of going about doing it that are real, and there's other ways that feel very virtue signaling. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Spending, you and I and everybody, spending is up.
Bank of America has 1 out of every 2 households has some relationship with them. What are you seeing right now in the numbers?
We're seeing from this year to date compared to 19. So 20, obviously, the numbers are up high. But you're seeing total spending by all our consumers, not a small amount, across debit cards, credit cards, Zelle, whatever. For the year to date, is up 20% over 19.
How is that possible? I mean, up 20% over a pre-pandemic year.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, it's the roaring 20s, right? So much of it is the roaring 20s. People have been sitting inside. They've been struggling. They're now getting out. And this is different kind of spending. A lot of people spent in a different way depending on where you were last year. I work locally with several companies that I endorse. And some of them, they had to stop their endorsements for a while because they didn't have enough people to run the amount of leads that they were getting. But on the other side of things, they were so backed up. They were telling me, man, if we book a job today, we may not get to you for 3 months. Some of it's materials, but a lot of it is we just don't have time. But this is a different kind of spending right now. What's going on? People are back out doing things.
And so what's happening is people got a lot of stimulus money, and they've been spending it, and the unemployment rate's coming down, and people are going back to work, and people can go to amusement parks, they can go on an inside the United States trip, they can go out to eat, and you're seeing everything open. The only thing that's still down is travel, pure travel. Everything else on debit and credit card spending is up.
That's for now. It's not going to be. How many of you out there have looked at trips? How many of you guys are getting yourself ready to go do something this summer? How many of you are now making plans to go to a concert, to go do something? It's starting to happen. Travel's not too far behind.
How far down is travel at this point?
It's about 10%, 15% down. And it's going to, we'll see that play out as people travel. You've seen the TSA is, 500,000 travelers under where it was in 19, but a lot higher than it was last year. And those industries will continue to see the recovery. But if you go try to book a hotel, I went to a wedding this weekend, completely full.
Yep. Very, very true. People are starting to do more. Restaurants are full. Yesterday with church, and after church went to a restaurant, and I'd been there once before. That was the first time I'd eaten out in about 16 months, and it was quiet. There were people in there, but it was quiet. Yesterday, packed. See waiting lines when I go drive past some restaurants, people standing outside. It feels very much like it did pre-pandemic. And these are people re-engaging in society who aren't just ordering on Amazon, but are out there and doing things now in the communities. That's a beautiful thing. We need that. We also need workers. I mean, that's just, and we'll go back to this debate about, well, what about minimum wage? What about it? What about minimum wage? What about minimum wage when it comes to, should we just give everybody a flat salary, like tip workers? Do we just give them all flat salaries? Is that the thing to do? And say, all right, no more tips? Kind of like they do in Europe. By the way, tipping in Europe is weird. Like, you don't have to do that. Oh, okay. I would always tip, but it was always kind of an odd thing. So is that what we're going to do? Do people want that? And do they want to? There's so many things that go into so much of this, because what we're really talking about is the bottom side of the earners. That's supposed to be for younger kids, right? This isn't build a family of four kind of business career that you're doing. It's supposed to be for younger, inexperienced workers who are coming into the working world, maybe for the first time, or maybe this is their second job and they're trying to expand. This is also for people who make tips, who make a decent amount of money cash on the side. So it's very interesting to see, but that's one of the debates that's going on through infrastructure and everything else is how do we get more people more money and what do we do? Can we force businesses to pay more? You can force businesses to do it, but you know what you can't do? You can't force people to buy it. Even Chipotle, right? Super, Chipotle goes out and they raise their minimum wage, and then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, we're going to have to raise prices here too. People feel that in a time when things are more expensive and you're getting less. People feel those things. Cuts down on revenue, which means we don't need as many people. So this debate isn't going anywhere anytime soon. I continue to say this. If you want to get ahead, you better figure out what the market value is for average and then figure out how you perform above average. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from all of you. I do. MyPillow. The MyPillow is on sale right now. Ready for this? $29.98. Normally, it's $40 more. They're knocking $40 off. $5 more for a king. You don't have to worry about your neck hurting. You're going to sleep cool. It's awesome. Truly is. My MyPillow is great. I love my MyPillow. Top of that, they've got great deep discounts on everything from the Giza Dream Sheets to the mattress toppers to the My Slippers. You name it, they have got it. You can take advantage of all of those things. 60-day money-back guarantee, 10-year warranty, machine washable and dryable. Grab your MyPillow right now, the MyPillow, or any of the other great MyPillow products at deep discounts. Go to MyPillow.com, use the promo code Benson. Saves you big time right there. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson, $29.98 for the MyPillow. Queen, $5 more for the king. Get it right now. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
Set Chad straight. Text the show, 323-538-2423. That's 323-538-CHAD. Someone has to do it. Might as well be you. The Chad Benson Show.
The Dating Game is now the Celebrity Dating Game, hosted by actress Zooey Deschanel and singer Michael Bolton. And if that sounds weird to you, they tell me it was to them too, and they leaned into it.
I love weird. Weird is so... I love how, there's awkward moments.
You're so comfortable with weird.
Tonight's first guests are former Bachelorette Hannah Brown and comedian Nicole Byer. And I asked Michael Bolton what's the secret to the perfect first date.
When you're sitting down for dinner and you feel like you've known someone all your life.
The Celebrity Dating Game premieres tonight on ABC.
I want to go back a few years, 1972, I believe it was, when the Celebrity Dating Game was there, and there was another person that was a celebrity on it. You guys ready for this? All right. Again, 1972 was the year Three lovely young ladies sitting there waiting to find out who they may go on a date with.
Timers for today's second game. Now, in order to keep our special guests from hearing anything about our lovely young ladies, we've been keeping him isolated off stage in a soundproof room. I'd like you to meet him right now. His single recording of Rockin' Robin is approaching the 2 million mark, and the album that came from Got to Be There is a million seller. He's the lead singer and the youngest member of the Jackson 5. He loves sketching and drawing, playing basketball and candy and bubble gum. Please join me in a special dating game welcome for a fine young man, Michael Jackson.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay. Same question, number 3.
Number 3.
Well, we have fun. We go out to dinner, and then I go over to your house.
Ooh, that's no. It's just so awesome. Oh, my Lord. Can't wait for that. Celebrity dating game. I don't even know who's on it. I know who hosts it. You know, I mean, it's... What did Anthony said? Producer Anthony said earlier that it's the Love Boat for now, right? Is that what it is? You're going to get mostly, I'm assuming, reality stars. I would assume that. Maybe I'm wrong. It kind of feels like, though, that's something that would be going on besides the Michael Boltons and Zoe Deschanel. What did Family Guy did? Zoe Deschanel. They did a fake commercial about her, and Deschanel was the cologne. They're like annoying. Hot, but not worth it. If you want to smell like a 40-year-old toddler. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. SCOTUS is doing their thing, and they are releasing inch by inch cases they will and won't do. First thing that's come out today, 9-0. I'm going to say this. 9-0. We always think that it's whatever team has the lead in the Supreme Court, that's the way it goes on every case. The majority of cases are shutouts. SCOTUS has ruled today certain low-level crack cocaine offenses are not eligible for resentencing under the First Step Act, a 2018 law that made some criminal justice reforms retroactive. So, other stuff will be coming out. They've got some big cases coming out big time. Same-sex foster parents and religious liberty, Obamacare challenge, voting rights, the NCAA athlete compensation, which I'm very curious about, student-free speech. Those are really the big ones here. So this will be interesting. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show, your Twitter. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I think how we react to coming out of this is looking like a big liability to the Democrats. I think their whole attitude toward this was a liability. But there was a poll recently, Gallup, this is a serious polling service, which is better advice right now, they asked, for people who do not have symptoms and are otherwise healthy. Stay home as much as possible to avoid contracting or spread the virus, or lead their normal lives as much as possible. 87% of Republicans said people should strive to lead normal lives. 71% of Democrats stay home.
Bill Maher over the weekend talking about that. Absolutely insane. Think about that. Almost 90% of Republicans said it's time to live your life. These are people who are vaccinated. Right, you're vaccinated. It's time to get back. Time to live your life. Who doesn't want that? Raise your hand if you don't want that. So you're vaccinated, and now you're in a position where We ask, hey, there's 100 Republicans over here. How many of you think you should stay home, and how many of you think you should live your life normal? 90% of them. So 9 out of 10 raise their hand. Yep, get back to life. Over here, Democrats, how many of you think you should live your life normal? 29 of them raised their hand. How many of you think you should stay at home? 71 of you think we should stay at home? Listen to that again.
87% of Republicans said people should strive to lead normal lives. 71% of Democrats stay home. Keep cowering.
You're talking about people who have had their vaccinations?
Correct.
71% of people who have had their vaccinations?
Of Democrats. People who've had stay home as much as possible, even if you've... And I see people on the street walking outside with a mask on like you f***ing moron. I just want to shout at them outside the car. You're a moron.
Moron. You're a moron. And he's absolutely correct. You're a moron. How in God's name would you think that you should stay at home unless you've got something so wrong with you that the thought of being outdoors and what potentially could happen to you is so dangerous that, yes, it is best for you to stay at home, and you stayed at home even before this. Outside of that, you're an idiot. You are. Let's just be real. If you've been vaccinated, you're still wearing a mask or 2 masks. You social distance from people, and you have nothing wrong with you. You do not have any true issues. You don't have a compromised immune system. You're not going through cancer treatment. There's just nothing wrong with you outside of whatever somebody's told you or sold you. You've lost the plot. You have. You've bought into something, and you've done it really easily. Knowing full well, too, that the mask, and the more that we find out about it, the more that we've talked about it on the show. Beginning of this thing, we said those most masks that you've gotten, those little masks that you bought in line at Target. I've got a cool mask with ninjas all over it. I bought it at Target, I think. Like, do I think that, hey, this thing's the thing that's going to stop the world's deadliest thing from attacking us? No. It was a placebo effect to make everybody else around feel like, oh, you're doing your part. Outside of that, the best thing was the social distancing, if you want the truth. People are like, well, maybe the flu season, the reason we didn't have a flu season is because kids weren't in school. They're the spreaders of it. They weren't in school. They weren't around each other in most places. My son didn't go to school for 14 months. Hard to get sick when you live indoors. But when you hear that 71% of Democrats say stay home, what are you afraid of? There's a great article in Atlantic a couple weeks ago about why do blue states want to continually push the lockdown further and further. What is it about them? What does it say about their makeup? And I think that's very true. More and more studies are being done about the Republican brain and the Democratic brain, and is there different wiring that goes on? It's very interesting. But the thought process of just, we need to stay at home. Even now, when I know people, I got friends who, they wear a mask, and they've been super vaccinated. It's weird. We got a kid here that I really like, but he is, super neurotic. It's crazy, man. He'll be in a room by himself wearing a mask. He's been vaccinated. He doesn't, if you're walking down the same hall, he will, turn. I mean, I don't know what he thinks is going to happen to him. But you're not going to fix that. That feels mental to me. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. If that is, it's a bit much. I think we can all admit that it's more than just a little bit. It's a lot of bit. if you're that terrified of something, there's not a lot people are going to be able to say or do that's going to make you feel better, and that this is your new reality. Over the weekend, they wrapped up the old G7. A lot of it was about China.
The G7 explicitly agreed to call out human rights abuses in Xinjiang and in Hong Kong, explicitly. 2, to coordinate a common strategy to deal with China non-market policies that undermine competition. They've agreed, and that's underway now, how to do that. 3, to take serious actions against forced labor in solar, agriculture, and the garment industries, because that's where it's happening.
Are you really going to do anything, though? I mean, honestly. Are you really going to do anything? Is the rest of the world sold on stopping China doing something? China had something to say about the G7.
China accusing the G7 of political manipulation after G7 leaders urged China to respect human rights and fundamental freedoms in a joint statement released at the end of the G7's 3-day summit. Issues highlighted included abuses against the Uyghur Muslim minority group and the crackdown on Hong Kong pro-democracy activists. The Chinese embassy in London accusing the G7 of baseless accusations, a spokesman saying, quote, "Stop slandering China, stop interfering in China's internal affairs, and stop harming China's interests." And
that's China. So basically, China looked right at everybody and said, "You guys can piss off. We don't want anything to do with you guys. You like our money? You want to sell stuff and build stuff here? We're going to continue to rob from you. We're going to continue to steal from you. We're going to continue to do any of the things we want to until somebody has the cojones enough to say, you know what, we're not going to allow this to happen anymore. We're no longer going to do business here. We're no longer going to do any of those things that we were doing before." And until they do that, till the World Trade Organization holds their feet to the fire, till not just us, but several other nations decide that, hey, China is far bigger threat than Russia. Russia's easy. Russia's not doing anything. Putin's self-contained, right? He screws with the Ukraine and steals and annexes parts of Crimea. He does what he wants to do. He's going to screw with the Europeans this year when it comes, because he's got his new big pipeline that he really wanted. And Biden's like, yeah, you can have it. Now, remember, Trump said no. But Biden's saying yes, and he's saying, well, the Germans want it, but Merkel's leaving, but you're going to give it to him anyways. So this winter, when it gets really cold and Putin wants to screw around and mess with some of the Europeans, he's going to go do it. But when you talk about who's a bigger threat, I'll tell you who's a bigger threat. China. Isn't that pretty easy to see? Listen to this when you talk about what we worry about in the world affairs.
About 2/3 in the ABC News Ipsos poll say protecting Americans' jobs should be top priority among long-term foreign policy goals. This ranks almost as high as taking measures to protect the U.S. from terrorism. About 500 adults were surveyed between Friday and Saturday. 4 in 10 say limiting Russia's influence and power should be given top priority among long-term foreign policy goals.
Why? Because you were sold a bill of goods for how many years that Russia did all these horrible things in this election. Russia interfered, and then when it came out, it was a bunch of crap. And it was the dossier was no more than a bad spy novel of fairy tales, make-believe, he said, she said, that was part misinformation and part imagination. And at the end of the day, nothing came of it. And it became political partisanship, but it bled into a point where everybody believed it. Goes back to that thing I was talking about earlier. That book that's out. We're going to try to get the author on. The Truth About Lies, where you tell that lie long enough and you tell it loud enough that even when hit with reality, you still buy into the fact that it's truth. Because you've not only believed it, you've made it a part of an identity. And so to challenge that would be challenging yourself, and most people won't do that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. Rough Greens Makes any pet food better. I give it to my dog. He loves it. And let's be real, my dog Doodle is a bit old, but I give it to my puppies as well. And I love the fact that they're just starting off in a much better way, right? FDA registered facility right here in the USA. Easy powders. Canine VitaSmart, you just sprinkle it on top of there. Supports healthy joints, shiny coat, and energy levels. It's 100% natural product. And right now, they want you to try it before you buy it. It's a simple and easy thing to do. You go to roughgreens.com/Chad, ruffgreens.com/Chad. You try it. They're going to send you a bag for free. That's it. There's no commitment. There's nothing. It's a free bag for you. Try it. You pay for shipping. See what happens. And it is amazing. It has improved his digestive system. His coat is shiny. He's happier and healthier. And his mobility is through the roof. And that helps because it's got omega-3, 6, 9. Try it now. Simple and easy. 833-MyDog77. 833-MyDog77. Or go to roughgreens.com/Chad. You pay for shipping. They're going to send you a bag for free. Chad Benson Show.
Check out our Chad Benson Show Facebook page where you can hang out or hang your grievances out to dry. This is Chad Benson.
Was Jonah telling the truth?
He was trying to get me out.
Still in scrubs from his trip to the hospital, Michael Packard has pains in his legs and a story of biblical proportions. Packard was diving off his lobster boat, was near the bottom when he says all of a sudden he felt as if he'd been hit by a truck.
And everything went black. And all I could feel was just muscle and skin all around me.
Packard says he was in total darkness and he could feel the whale's movement in the water. But at first, he didn't realize what was happening.
It was like, did I just get bit by a shark? Or, no, it's not a shark. I'm in a whale's mouth.
Yeah, he's in a whale's mouth. Lobster fisherman. I wish he'd talk like this. Would make it better. So what happened was I got bit. I was drinking some Sam Adams under the water, as you do when you lobster fish, and I was attacked by a whale. He thought it was a shark. Thank God it wasn't, because if it was, it would have been a megalodon. But he was there, inside of a whale's mouth.
You figured that out while you're inside the whale?
Yes.
He struggled, thought about his wife and 2 sons, and thought he might die. Then, after about 20 or 30 seconds, he says the whale spit him out.
And then all of a sudden, I saw light, white water everywhere, and all of a sudden, I was thrown from his mouth. He was shaking his head, trying to eject me out of his mouth.
Yeah. Get out of here, dude. What are you? I'm looking for other stuff. You're not the stuff I'm interested in. People are coming out saying, oh, this is not true. It can't be real. And it's hard in this day and age to believe because we just don't know what to believe, right? We see something good and we're like, is that real? Is that not real? Like this couple's doing something nice, but now there's a GoFundMe. How real is it or how isn't it real? There always feels. This is one of those things where you're like, how real is it? One doctor out there is like, it's not real. It's impossible to believe that this is true. But who saw this? Others.
Packard's shipmate saw him come flying out of the water. The captain of a charter boat that was nearby says he did too.
Wasn't sure what it was. Then when I saw the white flipper fin on the side, I go, that's a whale. And then all of a sudden I see Mike feet first coming out of the water like this.
Packard says the whale was a humpback about 35 to 40 feet long that might have mistaken his scuba bubbles for a school of fish.
Yeah. So you had other people who saw it. Was that real? Well, it sounds like it. Was he inside? Did the whale bat him? How do we know he was in his mouth? Shouldn't he have been swallowed?
I'm in a whale's mouth, and he's trying to swallow me. And I thought to myself, okay, this is it. I'm going to die. As soon as I landed in the water and was floating there in excruciating pain, I was like, oh my God, I'm alive.
I'm alive. I'm alive. Yeah, he's alive. All right. He's fine. It's just the whole thing is very interesting. But it's also interesting to start the debate is, was it real? Wasn't it real? How real was it? Did he swallow you entirely? Because it probably only took a second. It wasn't like he was chewing on him. I don't know what this is. These fish are awful. And you think that's what the whale did? This is disgusting. Like I would do. It's like, what is that, avocado toast? That's gross. There's no peanut butter on here. But it's funny to watch the way that people go back and forth and whether or not they believe something, even when other people saw it. How real was it? Or wasn't it? He's okay. Mostly just terrified, as you would be. And he says, I see great white sharks all the time. They're down there. See them. Got to know where they're at. But this was a surprise. He's got a whale of a tail. Oh, geez, you think Jonah was telling the truth? Might have been. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Had this happened anywhere else on a normal day, he may not have survived. We discuss it. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
You know, as Americans, we've come a long way. We don't give ourselves credit. One of the big things about critical race theory, when you read a lot of this stuff and the instruction they want to do, it's basically telling everybody that America continues to suck and separating people in a situation where, you know, you're telling some kids you're not worth the same as these kids, and then basically saying, hey, you're black, so because you're black, you are automatically not the same as the white kids, and white kids, your being born shows that you have far more privilege in such a way over the black kids, and we never give ourselves any credit for where we have gone from and how fast we have changed. And it was interesting. Bill Maher took this on over the weekend. And I say that because when you hear some of the stuff that you're going to hear from a woman who's a writer, an author, Ashley Shackelford, who describes herself as a queer, non-binary, black, fat femme writer, understand something. The cure is not where the money's at. The disease is where the money's at. Fixing climate today takes away green jobs and lots of money. So you don't want to do that. Racism has found its way into a lot of people's wallets. Meaning, because of racism, that people have figured out, I could prosper on this. Fighting it, writing about it, talking about it. I can make it an industry. We were talking earlier about climate. Climate racism's new. The KKK. Right? Ku Klux Climate. I mean, that's where we're at now. Yet a whole new thing combining racism and climate. Oh, my goodness me. It's insane. But here is Miss, I don't even know if you call Miss, right? Because, like, is that wrong? Here is they, them, he, she, I am Ashley Shackelford, a queer, non-binary, black, fat femme writer.
White people are racist. So I put this up because I really want any white person in the room to know up front that this is what we're dealing with, that it's not going to be this coddling of white tears and what that looks like. We're not going to discuss, oh, maybe some of us have worked it out. No, you're always going to be racist, actually.
So I'm always going to be racist. Nothing is ever going to change. All white people are racist. She goes out and gives this training session out over and over, and she has for a while, and there's white people in the like the little audience there, all white people are racist. Not only that, we're not even humans. We're evil and bad from jump.
So even when you're on your path to trying to figure out how to be a better human being, because I believe that white people are born into not being human, like that actually instead of people of color and black folks being dehumanized, that actually everyone is dehumanized off rip within white supremacy, that y'all are born into a life to not be human, and that's what y'all are taught to do, to be demons.
That's what we're taught to do. Well, here's something I would know as a child growing up. If that were true, I know not to mess with demons, right? Like, because you ever watch movies? You don't mess with demons. So you're saying you're racist? Look, it doesn't matter what I say. This lady believes it. Does she really believe it? Does she really believe it? No. The money is too good. Are you an ally? Right? Are you an ally? She's not interested in conversations or moving anything forward. She just wants everybody to know that all white people are bad. And based on that, if you pay her, she maybe can give you a path to truth and freedom. And people buy into that crap. And if you do, you're an idiot. You are. We have come so far. We've talked about it on this show forever and a day, how far we have come. We don't give ourselves credit. It's one thing about teaching about the past, but let's teach everything. Also about how far we've come.
How often do you ever see advertisements on television with black and white couples? I challenge you, find today, sit on one station for 2 hours, and I don't know how many commercials you'll see. Lay 8 to 5. 2 to 3 out of 5 have mixed race couples in them.
I know it sounds kind of out of left field, but actually Uncle Joe is pointing liberals towards something they need to be more aware of. They have a bad case of Progressive-phobia. That's the phrase coined by Steven Pinker to describe a brain disorder that strikes liberals and makes them incapable of recognizing progress.
Yeah. Steven Pinker is great. His books are great. We've had him on the show on more than a few occasions. And he's absolutely right. We've got this weird thing where we need to punish and talk about how bad things are and how we have never progressed and the insanity of how we are in a world that's getting far worse, when in actuality, we've never lived in a better time in the history of ever. That has to do with both race. It has to do with poverty. It has to do with the LGBTQIA, which is a new one we learned today. It has to do with everything. We have come so far, but you would never know it because every day it's something new about how bad life is.
If you think America is more racist now than ever, more sexist than before women could vote, you have progressive-phobia and should adjust your mask because it's covering your eyes. Before 2012, every time gay marriage was put before a state's voters, it lost. Now it's the law of the land in every state. Even half of Republicans are for it. Not that long ago, I knew people who went to prison for growing pot. And today you can legally smoke it for fun in 43% of the country, and I will.
Yes. Go ahead and do it. I don't care if you do. But it's about the wokeness. It really is. And it's about a look. How do you look to others? Not whether or not it's truth, not whether or not it's based on facts, not whether or not it's based on reality. I'm not saying that life is perfect, because it's not. There are issues out there. But there are issues everywhere. But it's now about, how do I look? How do I look doing it? Whether it's a business, whether it's a large corporation, whether it's a sports franchise, it doesn't matter. And hypocrisy runs wild everywhere in this, and people profit off of it. People absolutely do. Go see what's going on with Black Lives Matter and their founders, right? The issues they're having. Why? Because they've absolutely are enjoying their spending spree they've gone on. Patrice Cullors, in particular, who's now 4 homes. She's built a $35,000 fence around one of her homes. I don't care that she did that. But people are asking, how'd you get that money? Because racism pays well, or at least the fight of racism does. That's absolutely abundantly clear. So when we hear people say that white people aren't human and they're not born human.
So even when you're on your path to trying to figure out how to be a better human being, because I believe that white people are born into not being human, like that actually instead of people of color and black folks being dehumanized, that actually everyone is dehumanized off rip within white supremacy, that y'all are born into a life to not be human, and that's what y'all are taught to do, to be demons.
That's what we're taught to do. Just know that dumbasses are paying her and many others to be told that they're demons and evil and bad, and then no matter what they do, it may not be enough. But if you could continue to write checks, we may have found a cure. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. We're going to talk about it in a second. What took place over the weekend in Copenhagen, in Denmark. It was the biggest sports story of the weekend. It wasn't the NBA, it wasn't the NHL, it wasn't Major League Baseball, right? It wasn't early training camp, OTAs for the NFL. It was none of those things. It was actually a European soccer game, but not the game itself. Something that took place at the game that some 300 million plus people were watching, and it was gripping television. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Tweet at me, text the program, Raycon, best earbuds around. You will get no better. Not for the price either. Let me tell you about Raycons. I'm going to go out and work out a little bit here in a little bit. It's going to be super hot today. I've got my Raycons on. Don't worry about them getting sweaty and falling on my ears. They fit perfectly. The new gel tips, customizable. They fit amazing. My nice noise isolating fit. There's no stems. There's no wires. These earbuds make the difference. And whether I'm listening to podcast or I'm listening to some music or I'm just sitting down, relaxing, doing some editing and some stuff, I tell you what, having my Raycons is incredible. Truly, truly, truly amazing. 45-day happiness guarantee, compact charging case, 24-hour battery life, and portability. So you charge it up, you take it with you, you don't have to plug it back in. It's got juice in it, and it charges your earbuds as you go. Get the best earbuds around and save an extra 15% right now. Choose your colors. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. 45-day happiness guarantee. Start well under $100. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
Being antisocial sucks. Hang with Chad's friends on Facebook, The Chad Benson Show. And if you just need some alone time, head on over to Twitter at Chad Benson Show. Either way, we can't wait to meet the real you.
Play is going to be halted again, and this does look serious. Well, Christian Eriksen in some distress by the look of things.
Well, plays knew straight away that was a heavy fall.
Yes. It was. So, European Soccer Championship is supposed to play last year. The way they work it is the Euros are every 4 years, just like the World Cup. And in between these 2 years, in between the World Cup and this, but what took place last year, coronavirus, didn't kick off until 2021, Friday. Saturday, it got free-flowing. Early game, followed by the midday game. Midday game, battle of Scandinavian teams. Kind of like an opening up of Europe, right? After all this nightmare and craziness, it's there's fans in the stands. People are excited to be back. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous late afternoon in Copenhagen, and you've got Denmark versus Finland. 43rd minute, Christian Eriksen plays for Inter Milan. That's his club team. Was a stalwart for a team called Tottenham in England in the Premier League for a long time. Beloved player, probably one of the top 30 players in the world. Gets a throw in, takes one step, and then down he goes. he hits the ground. Now, at first, you're not quite sure what happens, but you do know it's serious because both sets of players were signaling, get over here. The captain of the Danish team secures his neck, clears his airwaves, and starts immediately giving him CPR. Immediately. This is the text back and forth with my friend Kenny. He and I both played in Europe together. I said, man, you watching this? Yeah. Guess what happened? I said, I think he's dead. He goes, are you serious? I said, yep. So they were giving him CPR. Now they've shocked him. I think it was 1:27, they said, from the time that he hit the ground till they started administering him the opportunity to, they were giving him intravenous drugs and shocking him. Had this happened anywhere else on a normal day, not in a stadium, with the defibrillator and everything, there's a chance that he would have died. Yeah, this is the team doctor talking about that.
He was gone, and we did cardiac resuscitation, and it was cardiac arrest. How close were we? I don't know.
Yeah. And it was tough to watch. I'd seen that before. And I said, I mean, he's dead. I mean, you're looking at him. His eyes are open. And at first you're like, was there a clash of the heads earlier? Did something happen to him where he hurt his neck and any of those things? But the way in which they acted and how fast it was and the response on the field. And if you saw any of the pictures, and a lot of people over the weekend saw the pictures, even though they don't follow the game, soccer, stupid, goofy, weird, whatever it is, were sending me questions, hey, what was that all about? And I kind of told them what happened. But they lined up in a circle around them so they could do all that stuff without the fans and the world seeing what was going on. But it was hard not to see. People got mad at ESPN for the way that they handled it. ESPN has no control over these cameras. FIFA and UEFA, who runs everything, has the control of the cameras. They're the ones who are essentially feeding it out. They had zero control over it. But it was tough to watch. The good news is he's awake. He's stable. He is joking. He is laughing. And he's talking. He's worried more about his teammates than he was himself.
Yeah, he would like for us to play. If Christian is a football player, he said that he would love to. He feels like he could go out and play, and Christian feels best when his feet is close to a football. Yeah, it was good to see a smile, and we'll try to see if we can get ourselves together and play for Christian.
Yep, and that's the manager of the team. But it was just amazing to watch. And it was also amazing to know that that was there. How fast the response was. And it was you didn't know where he was. Several years ago in the African Cup of Nations, which is kind of like the European Cup but for Africa, Marc-Vivien Foe collapsed on the field. And he died. They didn't have any of this. And you could tell he was dead. When they were taking him off the field, his arm fell out of the stretcher, and it was just dangling. You could tell. With him, as they were taking Christian out, you could see he had the mask on. He was sitting up, kind of, holding his head. And it was tough, though, because his wife was there. She comes down on the field. They're consoling because she said, I thought he was dead. And they said, nope, he's breathing and he's alert. It was a cardiac arrest. Why? Some people are asking the questions. Did he get a vaccine? He did not. Did he have COVID? He has not. But it was terrifying to watch. It was. They played later on that night. They had to finish the game. They gave him the opportunity to choose. You want to play tonight or tomorrow because you have to do this. Otherwise, we're going to have to forfeit the game or something like that. It's a tournament, finite amount of days that we can play and give you guys recovery time. Some of the players chose not to play. It was tough. The good news is he's alive, he's alert, and he's awake. But had that happened anywhere else, probably, him walking down the street with his family, probably would not have survived. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. You guys have a great rest of your day. We will do it again tomorrow. Follow along across all social media. As always, night-night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.